Okay, if you have a question for one of the Iowa student athletes, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. First one up right, Susan.
Susan Harmon, Hawk Fanatic. I wonder if each of you could address what you have seen of Creighton on film and if they're anywhere different than they were at your scrimmage before the season started.
We'll start right to left, so Kate, why don't you go first?
Yeah, Creighton is a really good three-point shooting team. They play a lot of 5-out, and you know they're gonna shoot the ball a lot, and they push the ball well in transition. I think they're similar to us in wanting to shoot the ball, but they don't play as fast-paced as we do. But yeah, there might be some matchup issues inside, but they're a pretty good team, and there's not much difference from the scrimmage. But yeah, we're just getting prepared for that, and we're going to be ready to guard the three-point line.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with Kate. Obviously, kind of small ball, and I think it'll play to our advantage. Having played that before, obviously not something you really see in the Big Ten, so that'll be a little bit of adjustment. But obviously, I think we have an advantage inside, so we'll really need to use that to the best of our ability tomorrow. But you know, I think obviously playing in October and then playing in March is a lot different. Obviously, we play the same style of basketball, but you've improved over the course of the year. You got used to playing with your teammates, so. You know, I think we're a completely different team than we were then, having a lot more games under our belt, a lot of close games. And I think having that experience of playing them in the scrimmage and their style of play, which is different, having that experience will be beneficial for us.
Yeah, I think you guys said everything that needs to be said. It's important to guard the three line just because they are a good three-point shooting team. But just trusting our game plan and knowing that using our advantages to our advantage, Monica inside, and just sticking to what we do best and playing team basketball, Iowa basketball, and we'll be successful.
Scott?
Scott Docterman, The Athletic. This really is for all three of you, and you've had to endure, you know, last year, the pandemic year where you didn't really play in front of fans, and then the bubble, of course, and now. You had some issues in December. What's Lisa been like throughout this whole thing? Has she been a kind of a calm, steadying force? Has she kind of changed with this situation? How would you kind of describe the way she's kind of impacted you personally and as an athlete?
Let's start with Gabby and work back this way. Gabby?
Yeah, I think she's been calm through it all. I mean, it's new to all of us. Like, we've never had to deal with something like COVID. So I think just being able to be open-minded, ready for like what the new changes are going to be, and just trying to just stick together through it all. I think that's really important. I mean, we just had to trust in each other and be ready for whatever was going to come our way, and just, keep being us through it all.
Yeah, I think certainly. I think Coach Bluter is the same person every single day. She gives you 100% every time she shows up to practice, to film. If you have a meeting with her, and that's what I appreciate about her so much, really. But, you know, obviously we were faced with a lot of adversity this year, but so were other teams, and we didn't make excuses. We just came back and got better every single day. And I think, you know, the coaches never didn't believe in us. They believed in us really more than we probably believed in ourselves. Obviously, it's hard going through injuries, having 7 available players, losing close games that you know you should have probably won. But, you know, she knows what she's doing. She's been doing this for a long time. And really, we just trusted in her, trusted in the rest of the coaches. And now to really be at our best when we need to is really what we've wanted the whole year. And to be at our best when we need to is basically great for us.
Yeah, I think she stayed pretty calm through it all, sometimes surprisingly calm. I really believe that, and I think what I love most about her is her confidence in us, and throughout this entire year, even if we were going through rough stretches, she had the utmost confidence in us the entire season, and so I really admire that about her, and she just instills that in us every single day, whether it's in practice or in a game. She's the same each and every day, and she's always bringing that smile and that encouragement, always yelling beautiful at us. So it's pretty awesome that she's remained pretty calm throughout this entire year and throughout COVID.
Oh, Jeff.
Jeff Linder, Cedar Rapids Gazette. Tell us a little bit more about the scrimmage. Did you keep score? Is it like a game? Did you work through certain situations? What was kind of the competitive level of that back in October?
Caitlin, you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, it's competitive. We treat it like it's a real game. We go through a scout. We warm up like it's a real game, and it's your first kind of like real game experience. It's the freshman's real game experience, and I don't think we're allowed to keep score, so I'm not sure if we did. But honestly, I'm pretty sure it was a very competitive game. Played a lot of different defenses, ran a lot of different sets. It's kind of one of those things where you try different things out in the beginning of the year, but they're a great team. I know we scrimmage them every single year. We didn't last year due to COVID, but their style of play is different, but we'll be ready to go. And I think, like I said, I think having that experience of playing in the scrimmage and kind of getting used to that small ball style and not really being shocked when we get out there tomorrow is going to play to our advantage. But the scrimmage was very competitive. We take it very seriously. So I think it's great we kind of have that experience going into tomorrow.
Chloe?
Chloe Peterson, the Daily Iowan, kind of for all three of you. Lauren Jensen, obviously your former teammate, now starts for Creighton. Do you see that as an advantage with your familiarity of her, or a disadvantage for her familiarity of you?
I would start with Kate.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we love Lauren, no hard feelings there, and we're really happy for her because she's been so successful at Creighton. And I mean, maybe it's an advantage for her because she's used to this gym, but I don't know, it's still going to be in a crowd of 15,000 people, so we'll see. I wish her the best, but yeah, that's it.
Caitlin?
Yeah, I think the same for Kate. Obviously, we loved Lauren, and we wish her the best when she was moving on from here. And, she's had a tremendous year for Creighton, so it's been kind of fun getting to follow her success, and was happy to see that. But I think getting on the floor tomorrow, like you're both competitors, you're both wanting to compete, is the biggest thing, and we'll have our game faces on. And that's all you can expect in a round of 32 game with a chance to go to the Sweet 16 on the line. So, we'll be ready to go. I'm not sure if I would say we have an advantage or she has an advantage. I really wouldn't say that because we haven't played with her or against her really for once other than the whole year. So I wouldn't really say that, no.
Matt?
Matt Call, Quad City Times. This is for Kate. How much did your upbringing kind of shape your competitive nature? And just wondering if you have any good stories from your football days.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm the youngest of three, so I have an older brother and an older sister, so things were always super competitive in our household. And my dad's football coach has been my entire life, so he's always been, he's always roughhoused with us, and he always says he didn't treat me and my sister any different than he raised his son. So we were all kind of raised the same with that same toughness always. And yeah, I was the only girl on our fourth grade football team. I was the quarterback, kicker, and linebacker. So I have some good stories. I wanted to quit actually. The first time we played, I kept getting hit so hard before I could even get the snap out of the center's hands. And I went over crying to my dad. I was like, Dad, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. And he looked at me and he said, you begged me to play. He said, you're finishing out this season. And so that kind of taught me some toughness right there too. So that's kind of a funny story. But yeah, I think just having my dad, and my mom's really tough too. She gets upset because I don't mention her too much. So my mom's tough as well. So I get a lot of that from her. But yeah, I think just having those siblings and playing football has kind of shaped me. But yeah, it was a cool experience, and I'm glad I can keep living that toughness out.
Back left.
Matt DeMarinis, White and Blue Review. I know you guys kind of dealt with this last year on somewhat of a stage, but it's going to be sold out in here tomorrow, and you're going to get the ABC viewing audience. Have you thought about at all what this means externally beyond what's just going to go on between the lines for the game itself?
Let's start with Gabby.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's super cool that we got to sell out not just one game, but two back-to-back. I mean, just like getting all that viewership for women's basketball in general, like it just shows that more people are wanting to watch women's basketball, wanting to watch us play, and it's just exciting because, I mean, that's what you want, like as a women's basketball player, like that's just cool to see, like the amount of people that are actually watching your games.
Caitlin.
Yeah, I think it's tremendous. Obviously, getting the ABC time slot is a super big deal for women's basketball. I think the only other time we played on ABC was UConn last year, and the numbers for that game were tremendous. So a super, super cool opportunity. Obviously, ESPN is great, but ABC is a whole different level. But, we're excited, obviously, getting to play in front of, I think it's 14,000 something just due to NCAA seeding. But that's a huge deal as well. So those two combined together, I mean, what better platform could you ask to play women's basketball on and to grow the game? And I think it just really shows the excitement and growth this game has going forward. But, we're super thankful for the opportunity, and we don't take it for granted. And, I'm just really excited.
Susan?
Susan Harmon, Hawk fanatic. You talk about small ball. I'm not really sure I understand what that means.
You can take it.
They basically play all guards. All of them can shoot. That's just their style. It always has been. A lot of screening action on the perimeter. So we'll basically be defending from the outside in. And that's not usually what you see in the Big Ten. Usually they're playing at least one solid post at a time. And, their girls can go inside and post up and do that, but they can all shoot the three at the exact same time. So, small ball, more like all guards basically on the floor at once.
Jeff?
Jeff is nice enough to let me ask a follow-up. Then how, if you're going to be all spread across the floor and defending the three-point line, how do you keep an eye on the lane? Monica just have to stand there, or are you going to be able to help?
Yeah, I think it all depends on matchups and who they have in the game. And obviously help side will be a key for us, and being able to see our ball and the player at the exact same time. A lot of screening action, but that's why you watch film. That's why you go through it in practice. That's why you have a scout, so you're ready, you're prepared when you step on the floor tomorrow. But yeah, those will be keys to the game for us for sure.
We have time for 2 more questions. Jeff?
Creighton, I think, leads the nation in assists per game, and you guys are right up there too. How much do you appreciate their brand of play and vice versa?
Kate, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I like watching high assist basketball teams. It's pretty similar to us in that aspect, and I can appreciate a team that shares the ball well. And they're a hardworking team. They're a really good team, and they're fun to watch. They're great shooters. So yeah, I really appreciate their high assist, low turnover type team.
Gabby?
Yeah, I think they're pretty similar to us in that way. I think that contributes also for them being able to shoot the 3 ball. So that's probably how they get their high assists. But I think just that they're similar to us because we really value like a great shot over a good shot and just having those high assist games.
Michelle, front right.
Yeah, Michelle Vogel at ESPN.com. Caitlin, I'll send this to you. You guys talk about how you guard a team like Creighton. What about in terms of how you attack them offensively? Because, Lisa, there was not much wrong yesterday, but Lisa said maybe get Monica more touches. Is that a little bit easier to do, or what are the challenges against a spread offense like that when they're defending?
Yeah, I think we should get Monica the ball no matter who's guarding her, a big, a small, no matter what. And obviously, I think only 6 shots yesterday, but she was getting triple teamed at one point in the first quarter. So I thought she did a really good job of finding her teammates and setting up open 3 looks, which I think she's done a great job of this year, passing out of double teams, triple teams. That's a lot harder than it looks, but I think we're really going to have an advantage inside, but I also think that every single game because Monica's the best post in the country. So I think really taking advantage of that, but not only that, driving, I think will be huge for us. Cutting hard, getting our feet in the paint is really some keys to the game offensively for us.
Okay, thank you for your time. Good luck tomorrow against Creighton.
Thank you.
We'll have Iowa head coach Lisa Bluter in here in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we are joined by Iowa head coach Lisa Bluter. Before we get to your questions, we'll start with an opening comment. Coach?
Yeah, excited to still be playing. It's fun to enter the field of 32. Obviously, everybody is trying to get to that next level, and we have a great opponent in Creighton, somebody that we're familiar with. They're familiar with us. It's kind of unusual because in the NCAA tournament, usually you play against people that you don't see or you don't know as much. And obviously, we know each other pretty well, having a scrimmage against each other every year in the closed scrimmage. Very well-coached team, very offensively explosive, can shoot the three really well, passes the ball really well. So they do some of the things that we like to do, and it could be a real track meet tomorrow.
Thank you, Coach. Our first question will come from Jeff on the left.
Coach Jeff Linder, Cedar Rapids Gazette. What are your recollections of that day when you played in October or early November, whatever it was, and what, how do you expect things to be, maybe the same or different tomorrow?
I think we're both, the same as far as offense and defense as we were in October, but we're both better than we were in October. Both teams are extremely, when we watched that game and we're like, oh my goodness, you just can't believe some of the things you do. So I don't think any of us have changed a whole lot, but we're just both a lot better at it.
John.
Lisa, John Bonenkamp from the Associated Press. How many years have you been scrimmaging them, and how did this all kind of come about?
Well, when the NCAA started the rule of a closed scrimmage, you can have an NCAA Division I closed scrimmage. I cannot remember the year, but I think it's been about 8 years, possibly. It might have even been longer. I don't remember the year that it became. As soon as it became that, we contacted Creighton because, A, they're close, they're always willing to come here, and they're really good. And so it gave us an opportunity to play somebody in a closed scrimmage like that. And we've just have a good relationship, so we've kept going every single year.
Scott.
Scott Docterman, The Athletic. Over the last 10 years, you've had almost a superstar every couple of years, whether it's Sam Logic, a point guard, or Megan, or Kathleen, or now, of course, with Caitlin. Your style seems to remain in place, but with a few alterations. How do you kind of decide, keep the tempos the same, but change some of the alterations to enhance the strength that you have among certain players?
I think that comes in the recruiting process. I think you recruit players that you fit your style, obviously we recruit players that are pretty offensive minded, that want to be up tempo, that, are willing to pass the ball. Those are things, and I know like you look at Megan and she may be different than Sam and Kathleen and Caitlin, but, I'd say right now we have two stars. I really believe Monica Sinano is a star in her own right. And so they both are, Megan and Monica are willing to run the floor. We need posts that are willing to do that because we want to be up tempo. And we've just coached that way. We enjoy it. We think the fans enjoy it. And I think our players really like to play that way.
Dargan.
Dargan Souther from the Des Moines Register. I know you had your full focus on Illinois State, but when you saw the brackets come out and saw that Creighton could be a possibility, did you want that familiar prep? Do you feel like that makes a difference at all? And I know the rosters are different, but was there anything that you learned from prepping in 2018 for facing them, just because you guys are so overlapped and intertwined and everything, and now, facing each other on the biggest stage?
I was actually hoping to play Colorado. I thought we matched up with Colorado a little bit better because with Creighton playing a 5-guard offense, basically, it's harder for us to defend them. So I was kind of hoping to play Colorado. The second part of that, Dargan, was about 2018.
Just because you guys are so intertwined, and I remember you talked that year about how it was weird prepping for them in 2018.
Yeah.
Was there anything from that you learned about that situation?
I just really like our players. They know 2018 we lost to them, right? And that's good. That's good for them to know that. It's good for them to remember that. I'm sure Creighton thinks it's good to know that they have the confidence coming in here too. So it's both of us are going to spin that the way we want to spin it as far as coaches. But I don't know that there's any advantage to it. Again, I think in the NCAA tournament you kind of look forward to playing against people that you're not always seen all the time. So we're not getting that as much right now, and you kind of like having people that don't play against you all the time that you get to go against in the NCAA tournament.
Kyle on the left.
Kyle Huseman, Hawkeye Report. Emma Ronsiak is pretty versatile in the fact that she can go inside in the post, but then also step out and shoot a three. Just talk about kind of the challenge she presents on the offensive side, and then without giving up your game plan, kind of what are some broad things that you can do to slow down someone that is as versatile as she is?
She's a great player, and you just hit the nail on the head, Kyle. I mean, she's so versatile. That's what makes her so good, right? That's what makes players, elevate them from being a good player to a great player when they can score in a variety of ways, when they can put the ball on the deck, when they can post up, when they can shoot threes, and that's what she can do. So she's huge. How do you defend her? I mean, we've went against good players all year, so I don't think we can get hung up on that. Yes, we're going to have a game plan to try to defend her, just like we have to defend Lauren Jensen, who's a tremendous three-point shooter. So, I mean, you're right, I'm not going to talk about it a whole lot, but she is a superb player.
Matt Koss, Quad City Times. Kate Martin in particular, you've talked about her kind of being the glue of this team. What were some things when you recruited her that really kind of stood out that made you feel like she'd be a really good fit here?
I have known Kate Martin since she's been about 4 years old, okay? So we go back a long ways. And so it wasn't a matter of understanding that she'd be a good player, a good person on our team, because I know her. She came to our camps before that. I mean, she's a niece to Jan Jensen. I don't know if you knew that or not. She's been around our program forever, and she dreamed about being an Iowa Hawkeye. I have pictures of her together when she was 4 years old, and she's wearing a Hawkeye jersey with a backwards baseball cap on. I mean, she was always a tomboy ready to play basketball for the Hawkeyes. And so it was never a matter of fact that I had to think about, is she going to be a good fit for our program? She grew up wanting to be a fit for our program. She grew up trying to emulate being a part of our program. Really, in my recruiting process with her is just having to figure out, was she good enough? Was she good enough to play for us? And the answer is yes.
Scott.
Yeah, the last 2 years or so, I mean, really it was about 2 years today-ish when the world kind of collapsed and with the pandemic, and that tournament got canceled, and then the next year, all the uncertainty, and even for you, this last December, you had to deal with your own bouts on the team. How have you handled this adversity, on a personal way, and then how have you tried to project that with the players to ensure that it doesn't, affect them mentally? Because I know it all affects everybody in this room.
Yeah, 2 years ago was something I will never forget. I mean, we were playing really good basketball, and we had been through the conference tournament, and that week was one of our best weeks of basketball, and that's what makes that so disheartening. And we had Kathleen Doyle, who was the Big Ten Player of the Year. We honestly felt like we had a Sweet 16 team on our hands. And that's what's so disappointing, is when you feel like you've got a really good team, and then all of a sudden, you get that phone call saying, wrap it up. And having to bring those women together and tell them that their careers are over, their basketball season is over, something I'll never forget. This year we've had a lot of unusual situations to deal with. But that's what I admire about this team, is the resilience of being able to handle this and to stay positive and to bounce back no matter what. And it's incredible. I mean, we've had, players get injured. We've had delays. We've had 4 games in 8 days. We've had travel problems getting back. It never fazed them. I mean, it was just honestly, it's so rewarding to see young people that are so resilient and so positive. And I mean, you just want to be around those kids, right? Because it's going to rub off on you a little bit. I mean, everybody wants to be around kids like that. So I just admire them, and I'm really proud of them. And I think it's our leadership. We have great leaders with, Monica, Kate, and McKenna are our 3 leaders. I think Caitlin, as a leader by virtue of her status, does just a marvelous job. I mean, they're always laughing and bringing fun things to the table. Even when we got delayed at Penn State forever, I mean, They're just having a great time. They have a great time together. It didn't matter that we were getting home from 4 o'clock in the morning from Rutgers. They're having fun. So I think when you enjoy the people you're around, you can get through a whole lot of difficulty.
Back row.
Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald, head coach. How have you seen Caitlin Clark over the last 2 years balance, I don't know, playing with an edge, which she clearly does, and keeping her cool at the same time? And not just tomorrow's game, which is a huge stage, but as you guys progress in this tournament, her need to be able to do that and how she's grown in doing that, and where maybe she still has to grow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fine line when you coach somebody like Caitlin, because she does have an edge, and you never want to take that edge away as a coach. I mean, it's like I've talked about this with our staff, is we have to manage her, but we can't control her. You can't put a bushel basket over the light. You don't want to do that, right? Part of what makes her great is that edge. Part of what makes her great is her passion. Part of what makes her great is her competitiveness. And part of that is taking logo shots, right? I mean, if I was going to take that away from her all the time, I would be taking away, I think, one of her strengths of her game. Now, do I want her shooting logo shots all the time? Heavens no. And she's learning, a right time and a place for that. And she's grown in that this year. I think she's gotten much, much better in that this year. But am I ever going to tell Caitlin exactly what she can and cannot do? No, because that's taken away the player that she is, in my opinion.
We have time for 2 more questions. We'll start with Jeff.
Yeah, Coach, through the years, you've always talked about how much you love the assist. That being said, Creighton leads the nation in assists. How much fun, you talk about beautiful basketball and all that. When you see Creighton, do you see that as the way you kind of see it in your own team as well?
I love any team that can shoot the ball and share the ball and run the ball, and they do all 3 of those things. So, yes, they're an excellent team. And what makes them hard to guard is, we've talked about Emma and what a great player she is, but they all have the possibility to have a great night against you. And that's what makes them hard to guard, is it's just not 1 or 2 people that you have to worry about, but anybody that everybody in this team that has the possibility to hit a 3 on you. And when you put 5 players on the floor that can hit 3s, that's hard to defend. So yeah, I think they play a pretty style of basketball and they execute it very well.
Okay, our final question, Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle Vopel, ESPN.com. Lisa, you've been in the game a long time and know how pivotal last year was in terms of exposing some of the inequities. I'm wondering if you feel like, is there a different feel this year? Are we far enough into it to know that, or has it been cosmetic, or is it genuine? And do you have a thought on what you would use to measure that, if you will?
Oh boy, that's a big question, Michelle. But I mean, I think we can all see the some of the things that they've made adjustments on. We all notice March Madness, right? Being logoed all over the place. But man, that's a small victory, isn't it? There are definitely some things I know that the NCAA is doing, but we're not even close to being where we should be. And shame on us for getting down this path this far with nobody ringing the alarms. I mean, Scott, you talked about the pandemic and COVID. Thank goodness for COVID. COVID might have been the best thing for women's basketball that could have ever happened, because what it did is put us all together and put one kid with a social media out there to get this ball rolling in the right direction. If we would have had no COVID, if we would have had no social media, I don't think any of this would happen. We'd still be playing in the dark ages. And I know we're making steps, and I'm so glad that we're making steps, but there's a whole lot more steps to go. I mean, when you look about lost television revenue and unit distribution and how women are getting none of that, we've proved that we can handle it, that we can sell our product, but they're just not allowing us to sell our product. So I think it's getting better, and I think it'll continue to get better, and we can't be satisfied with where it is right now.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Good luck tomorrow against Creighton.
Thank you.
A reminder that a recording of this press conference will Emma and Lauren are joining us today. If you have a question for either of them, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. Back left.
Yeah, I guess first, just when you saw the crowd yesterday and then found out you were going to be playing on ABC, what were some of the things that started to go through your mind as you realized this is going to be quite a significant viewing audience tomorrow, both in person and on TV?
Yeah, I mean,
I was going to say, let's go left to right. We'll start with you.
for me, I'm really excited to play on this, and I think all my teammates can say the same. We're really excited to play in front of a crowd, even though it's going to be a little skewed towards Iowa, I think, because it's a home court advantage for them. But nonetheless, I think we're all really still excited about just being able to play in front of this kind of stage, because this is what March Madness is, just playing in front of a crowd like this. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, just kind of echoing everything that Emma said. It's obviously going to be a really fun game, you know, with that crowd and ABC at noon. And so it's going to be fun. And like Emma said, this is what March Madness is about. So I'm definitely excited, and I know the whole team is as well.
Susan, front right.
Susan Harmon, Hawk Fanatic. For each of you, looking back at your scrimmage in October, whenever it was, do you think you guys and Iowa have both changed in any ways, and if so, what?
Start with you, Lauren.
I think we have. You know, obviously that was the end of October and now it's March, you know, so we've obviously progressed and grown in different ways, but we're also the same, you know, in a lot of senses. And so they've gotten better, we've gotten better, and so yeah, I think there's a difference in that, but
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Lauren. Every team, I think, can say that they've gotten better from October to now. And it's just about every day getting better, progressing with each other. And for us, I think we've gotten better every day. And I'm assuming Iowa can say the same about themselves. So I think it's just going to be a total different ball game tomorrow as it was in October.
In the back.
Sam McCune from the World Herald. I have one question about two different players for both players. For Lauren, you guarded Caitlin Clark in practice last year, so you know what it's like to guard her. What does it take to guard her well? And then for Emma, Monica Cisnano is shooting 70% from the field. So if each of you could talk about guarding those respective players.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren, we'll start with you.
You know, obviously Caitlin is like a great player, leading the nation in scoring. And it honestly takes a whole team effort. She can do so much, shoot the three. She's obviously got very deep range. She can drive it. And so just trying to be as fundamentally sound as you can and just like do your best, and also relying on, if you do get beat, relying on that help from your teammates.
Yeah, and when it comes to guarding a player like Monica, I mean, I am undersized for a 5. I think a lot of people would consider me undersized for a 5. I would consider myself undersized. But I think it's just really paying attention to detail for me, just doing what my coaches want me to do, listening to scout, just being prepared. I think just being prepared and coming into the game knowing that we can all play with them is just going to be really good for us. And I think we've got a really good game tomorrow.
Lauren, I'm just curious, kind of asked you about it yesterday, but just how you're handling the emotions of being back here, you know, so soon in your career after you left, and, you know, how you're processing those and, you know, compartmentalizing them in the right ways for you to be effective.
Yeah, you know, obviously being back in Carver and everything, like it's fun for me. You know, we are here in October, and so I feel like that's helped, you know, like I've seen the team, I played against the team, and like there's no like bad blood or hard feelings or anything, and so that's good. But I'm excited, you know, it's kind of fun to be back here and playing in Carver.
Jeff, front left.
You know, just kind of jumping on that, can you kind of take us through the process of, you know, maybe about 11 months ago when you decided to go to leave and then to go to Creighton, how that all just kind of transpired?
Yeah, so when I decided to enter the portal, you know, I had some places in mind, but with obviously Creighton being one, but I kind of approached it with more of an open mind and wanted to talk to, you know, give the majority of schools a chance. And when I ended up picking Creighton, I knew it would be the right fit, and it has been. And it's kind of crazy, you know, a full circle moment being back here, you know, almost like a year later since when I entered the transfer portal. But the whole process went smoothly, and adjusting to Creighton and just the team and everything.
In the back left.
Yeah, just to follow up on the Sedano question, you know, you've faced Maddie Seegers, Raven People, Sydney Cooks, UConn's front line. There's a lot of, you know, players that seem similar in that regard in terms of having to deal with a potent five. How similar is this matchup in that regard in terms of leaning on past experiences from this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can definitely take, or me personally can take a lot of learning lessons from the other teams that we've played in the Big East. Big East is more of positionless, I would say, than the Big Ten is, but I could still say the same for guarding Sydney Cooks at Seton Hall is very similar to Sonano because they both are bigger than me, and I can just use that as a learning lesson for tomorrow. So, yeah.
Sam.
Yeah, I had a question about Morgan. She has an opportunity. I see the smiles too. Does she know how good she is sometimes, or like the potential that she has to go off and have a huge scoring game when you might really need it tomorrow?
Emma.
I mean, Morgan's just one of those players. She's so low key with her talents. Like, you would never picture her as being this like monster basketball player. Like, she is so good and she is so humble about it. And it's just so cool to me, just seeing like she could have 3 points in the first half and finish the game with 23. Like, it's just wild that she can just stack up her stats that much in that little amount of time. So yeah, she's definitely very dangerous, and I think a lot of people are going to have a hard time with scouting her because she is so versatile. She can score in the post and she can shoot the three like no other. So I'm very excited to see how they're going to match up with her tomorrow.
Yeah, like Emma said, she creates mismatch problems, and so that can sometimes be a challenge for people to guard. And she does score in spurts. She can just turn down at any point, and it's really fun to watch. And she is like super low key, super chilling if she's off and maybe not shooting the best or really getting the ball to fall. She doesn't force it or anything, and she knows that it could be someone else's night. And so I think that's really great about her.
Jeff on the left.
Coach Bluter said that she expects a track meet. You guys kind of play the same brand of ball, high assists. You guys very low turnovers, very efficient. Do you see this as being a score, you know, a really high scoring game where there's a lot of running and all that?
I'm sorry. Lauren?
Yeah, I would agree with that. We're both, I'd say more offense oriented. You know, Iowa has a great offense, and we like to get up and down and run the court and play faster. And so I would definitely agree with what Coach Bluter said earlier.
Emma.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I mean, I think that for us to be successful, we've got to slow them down on offense because they are such a good offensive team and they've got so many offensive talents on their team. And same as us, I think on our offensive end, we just have to push pace because it's going to be a track meet and it's just going to be as who gets there first.
Back left.
How do you guys react when Tatum barks at Flan and basically turns into a player coach?
Emma.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like regular. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like super out of the blue when you hear that stuff, but I mean, you kind of just have to take, when Tatum gets heated in those moments, you just got to take a step back and just like understand where she's coming from. She's a senior and this is her last go at basketball. So you just have like, and I have so much respect for her. She understands the game. She knows what she's talking about. So you kind of just have to go with the flow and just understand where she's coming from.
Yeah, Tatum is a very competitive person, and I love that. She definitely gets us all fired up. And like Emma said, she's a fifth-year senior. She's been around. She's the leader of this team, and her and Flan have a great relationship. And so, like, when that interaction happened, they were able to, or Flan was able to, like, hear what Tatum was saying and, like, work through that. And so, yeah, they have a good relationship.
We have time for a couple more questions if you have them. Susan?
Susan Harmon. Can you guys, is somebody on your schedule sort of similar to Iowa? I know Clark and Cesano were sort of outliers, but the way they play, besides being sort of similar to you guys, I guess.
Lauren?
Honestly, I'd say the team that might be most similar is Nebraska, just speaking in the sense of that they have bigger posts, because the Big East is more guard oriented, and so you don't see a lot of posts like Monica down there. It's more like hybrids like Emma. And so in terms of that, I'd say probably Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, I would also say Nebraska, but I think you could also make a case for DePaul because DePaul is so good on offense and sometimes struggle on the defensive end. And they've obviously got Anissa Morrow, probably the best freshman in the nation right now. So I'd say Nebraska and DePaul.
Seeing no other questions, thank you so much for your time, Lauren and Emma. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
We'll have Creighton head coach Jim Flannery here in a little bit. Absolutely. Okay, Coach, if you'd start with an opening comment about tomorrow's matchup, and then we'll open it up to questions from the media.
Yeah, well, first of all, we're thrilled to have gotten the opportunity to play a first-round game and thrilled to advance. And we have great respect for Iowa, their staff, their program, their players. We've scrimmaged them probably the last 10 or 11 years, right around Halloween. And, we have a great relationship with them, and that's why we've kind of kept it as a scrimmage. And, we've always felt like we learned a lot when we played them, and now and it never really felt like we had to win when we come over here. It was more of I always thought it was more of a learning tool. If we won, great. If we didn't win, it was not a big deal. Tomorrow that won't be the case. And we've always scrimmaged in front of some people at the scorer's table and a few bench personnel, and tomorrow we'll be playing in front of 15,000. So it'll be a little bit more challenging in that way. But if you're a coach or a competitor, what more would you want for? It's great for the sport, and it's great for the two teams who will be involved tomorrow.
We'll start in the back left.
Maddie Marinas White and Blue Review. I thought you were going to come with something planned, but you didn't.
I got a good one before you guys leave. I want to tell you.
Okay.
Remind me to tell you.
That's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Tomorrow you're going to get the ABC time slot along with the crowd. Have you thought at all about what this means for your program to be on this stage, and what's your anticipation level going into it?
Until you just brought that up, Matt, no, I had not thought a lot about that, but and I haven't mentioned it to the team. I mean, I don't know if they're of an age that they know that there's that much difference between ABC and ESPN, or, for someone of my generation, when there were 3 television stations and public television was the 4th, and then later Fox came, and then, way back before cable. But I don't know if they understand. But I think it's great, but I haven't thought about it a lot yet, but maybe over the next 24 hours I will. I figured we'd get a pretty good slot because I know, Caitlin is must-watch TV to a large degree, and that's great for our sport. And, so tomorrow will be great for Creighton women's basketball. I know it's more about Caitlin and Iowa's program, but we have a chance to be there and make a statement and show what our program's about tomorrow, and so that's exciting. And I think if you're, when we get past it, I think we'll look back and think that it was a great thing. But right now, Matt, no, not that much.
Jeff, front left.
Yeah, Jeff Linder, Cedar Rapids Gazette. So just kind of tell us, what's the structure like of that, the super secret get-together in October? Is it a 40-minute game? I imagine you don't, the scoreboard's not on, as far as the score is concerned. How successful were you in October against them? What
Sure.
did you take out of that?
Sure. Well, it used to be super secret, and then they kind of relaxed the rules and let you release a box score, right, Glenn? And typically we've played it. We play a 40-minute scrimmage with a halftime, and then typically Lisa and I will agree to say, hey, let's play one extra quarter, and maybe the kids that didn't get to play as much will play an extra 10 minutes. Or in the past, we've done some things like that where we'll go a little bit longer. And I know Lisa's competitive because I've always probably used my bench a little bit more during those 40 minutes than she has, and she usually counts on those last 10 minutes. But I always, from my standpoint, it's like, let's get through the first 3 quarters, and then if the game's there to be won, we'll try to win it. If it's not, we also just want to look at our younger players and look at combinations and what are, let's get better at execution against somebody who doesn't know us as well. So it's a learning experience, but I think it becomes competitive down the stretch. I can tell you one year we were playing over here, and I think the fouls were 9 or 10 to 1 against us. And one of the officials walks by and he goes, I'm guessing if this was a regular game, you'd be yelling at me a little bit more. And I said, yeah, probably, but it's okay. So, you know, you're just not as, I know Fran McCaffrey does not take that approach, but, because I've talked to people who've worked his scrimmage, but, you know, you don't bark at the officials and get uptight about some of the small stuff that you do maybe in a regular game. But it's a great experience, and we've done it every year because we like I said, we like their staff, we like their program, and we feel like we get a lot out of it.
Sam from the Omaha World Herald,
Yeah.
head coach.
Sam.
Okay, so Caitlin Clark obviously is sort of, it's almost like she's variable X, but when you think
Yeah.
about Monica Cisnano, like what is the challenge there? Assuming Caitlin gets the points that she gets, because she usually does, how important is it for you guys to slow down the center, and how do you do it?
Yeah, we actually spent a lot of time in our half practice. It's kind of a halfway between a practice and a shoot around, usually on a day like today. We're with our post working on just her tendencies and being, you know, what do we want to do on the left block or the right block? How do we greet her when she dives into the post, and what in transition? You know, we probably spent more time on her than Caitlin, just because, to your point, Caitlin is going to get hers, and Monica to some degree too, but I feel like Monica is a key. We did a good job on her in the scrimmage. I mean, she hurt us in the second half more, but yeah, I feel like she's a big key because she's just so efficient, and she's a product of a team that shoots it well and passes it well too. Like, right? If you don't have to guard them, extend out to the 3 line the way you do on all of them, and if they're not a great passing team, but she's so efficient in terms of just that catch and quick finish. So we got to execute the things that we talked about, and if she beats us doing the things that we don't think she's quite as good at, then we live with that. I mean, I can tell you when we played, you know, Megan Gustafson, you know, a few years ago in the NCAA tournament, we kept, you know, we hammered all week, right shoulder, right shoulder, right shoulder, because she's a left-handed player. And the first 3 times she caught it, she went left shoulder, left shoulder, left shoulder. And our kids are looking at us like, what are you guys telling us? But sometimes when they're that good, they're that good. So, but you still got to make them do what they have shown that they're maybe a little less capable of on film.
Matt?
Do you remember the first time Tatum kind of spoke up at you, and and how that kind of morphed into something that you kind of just understand to be her competitive nature and value it for what it's worth?
I don't. It probably occurred in practice, and now that she's a 5th year, she feels a little bit more emboldened to be able to do it in a game. But yeah, it was. I don't know if it was obvious yesterday, but during the timeout, as we came to the timeout, she's like, "Put another ball handler in." And she's done that a couple times, and you know, in the moment you don't love it because you think that there's, you know, kind of this questioning of authority, but 2 seconds later, after I breathe, I love it because she's a competitor, and you know, she's made her point, and now I'm going to either think about it and do it or don't do it, and all's fine 10 seconds later, but I think that's a part of what's made her an effective leader. Like, she's not afraid to call out her teammates, and once in a while we'll even be like, well, Tatum, I watched you in practice, I watched you the last possession and you didn't do that, but I think that's, you know, I think that's what's made her a good leader, is that she's willing to speak up. And, you know, I try to empower our players. I ask them once in a while, what do you think? What do you want to do on this? You know, what do you like? in this situation. And so I think it's partly a product of that we empower her that way. But yeah, in the moment it can be a little. I've experienced it before. I've had players in the past. I had a player one time tell me, I said, "Would you back cut one time?" And she goes, "I just did. Watch the film."
Madigan.
Yeah, I know she had a role in 2018 when you guys were in the tournament too. But what was it like, having Connie as an assistant again yesterday? I noticed some of the exchanges seemed like I was watching those early 2000s coaching staffs again. What was that like for you guys?
Yeah, it's been the last 2 years. For those of you who don't know, Connie's role is program advisor, so she hasn't been in a coaching role. But then last year with COVID, and then with Carly's pregnancy this year, she's been activated to where she is actually a accountable coach within games, and so therefore she's able to provide direct feedback and insight, et cetera. And so it's been good. I feel like she's been more willing to do that because of, early on it was like, I think harder for her to do that because she felt like maybe that wasn't her role, but she's kind of become more willing to speak up, and it's good because I think she's got a different perspective than, the rest of us even, and, she has head coaching experience, and she'll often say, "I know you're thinking about this, but," and sometimes it's something you are thinking about, and sometimes it's not, but she's good about providing feedback without making it be like, this is what you need to do.
Jeff.
Coach Bluter said she expects a track meet tomorrow. What do you expect?
I was wrong about yesterday. I did not think, and we got some free throws late to get to 84, but I didn't think we would get up in the 70s and 80s. So I don't know. But yeah, it'll be up and down. I mean, I think both teams are. This is not a knock against Iowa, but both teams are better offensively than they are defensively. I think Lisa and staff and team would agree to that, and that's the way we're built. We're both skilled teams that shoot it well, and try to be as good as we can with who we have defensively. But we're not. Neither one of us is an elite defensive team, and they like to run, and I think we have to be a little careful that we can't slow it down a little bit and take the crowd out of the game if that needs to be done. I feel like that's something that I've thought about and we've talked about as a staff, is we, if we feel like that's something that can help us, and I think both teams can go deeper into the shot clock. When you've got Caitlin Clark who can get a shot anytime, they can go deep in the shot clock, and I think we can do that too because we got multiple kids who can make a play late. So yes, it'll be up and down, but I do think there's enough familiarity too, and there's enough respect for the transition game of each team that I think I'm assuming that'll be a focus for Iowa. It's obviously been a focus for us, transition defense.
Matt.
You just brought it up. I was going to ask you about the transition part of it. Caitlin is just so quick and smooth, and everything she does transitions from one move to the next so easily. How do you begin to corral that transition game when she's got the ball in her hands coming at you full speed?
Well, your nearest defender besides the on-ball defender has to be in a position where they're able to help, because if you're just, it's hard to take away a logo three and not get to the point where she gets even with you and you're on her hip and she's keeping you on her hip and she's getting to the rim. So in order to get all the way up, or not all the way up, but most of the way up on that, okay, you've got to have somebody close that's communicating and what we call gapping the ball or helping there. I think if we can do that, that's going to be effective. And we will rotate people onto Caitlin. We will not put Tatum on her for 35 minutes, or we've got 3 people who will guard her for X amount of time, and they're just too good around her to, you know, there's only so many things you can do from a scheme standpoint, is what I'm saying. So you need somebody who's reasonably fresh and locked in to be able to guard her for 3 to 4 minutes at a time, in my opinion. And we can do that, I feel like, with what we have from a personnel standpoint. So that'll be our approach. Whether we can get it done, and you know, we're going to have to just take who we take in transition too. It's not, hey, you know, if we're telling Rachel she's got Caitlin for the next 3 minutes, that doesn't mean that she's always going to have Caitlin, because if the ball bounces long and somebody else needs to take Caitlin, somebody else will. So it's not going to be that the entire way, but rotating defenders on her.
Any other questions for Coach?
All right, good one. I was gonna. I brought 2 outfits, right? I mean, and got ready to get dressed yesterday. Had my black pants laid out, and my blue shirt, and jumped in. Pulled my black pants out. Started to put them on. I'm like, wait, these are my wife's black pants. Got about halfway up. I'm like, so anyway, I told the team, I said, I'm gonna wear the same pants both days, because I don't have the pair of black pants that I thought I had. My wife's pants in our closet are kind of right next to each other. I think I got 2 pair of black pants, and I just grabbed something that looked like my black pants. So I will be wearing. Will I wear my T-shirt? No. Well, I don't know what I'm wearing. I think I'm wearing a black shirt. But anyway, same pants. So unless my wife got me something at the mall today, which she offered, but I said I don't think I need them. But so we'll see. Yeah.
Okay, Coach. Thank you for your time. Good luck tomorrow, and good luck to the men today against Kansas.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.